Let's see what I got here. All right, we're going to move over to Zoom so we can do something interesting and whatnot. But the three dots, I have no dots. I have nothing. It is a pure black screen on the top, Jim. I've got nothing. Now I'm on my computer. If this only works on the phone, well, fuck that too. So fuck it all. I'm going to put the post, the Zoom post right there. Save the post. We're going to go over to Zoom, and I'll see you then. Sorry, folks. Stupid shit. Oh my God. What is it doing now? Sorry about the waiting room thing. I guess Zoom has added that as now that's a default. Oh, Lord. Hi there, Sophie. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you, apart from the Facebook thing?
I just hate Facebook so much. I mean, I just hate it so much. It's and I get overly frustrated with it. I spent an hour this morning learning how to bring people on. Apparently, Facebook has changed that interface, so now that doesn't work. So it's just after a while it gets really old. But unfortunately, this coronavirus thing is making Facebook even more popular, and that is a true tragedy right there. So nobody else came over, huh?
They will.
Well, maybe. I'm hoping
Here,
so.
yes.
I'm hoping so. Let's see here.
Dun, 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 dun. Look at all the people. Good afternoon, people.
Hey there, buddy. I gotta get in here and make you a co-host. Bada boom! Yes, you're co-hosting now.
Sophie, I love your classes. I love them.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
Well, when I spoke with Sid earlier, we were going to try to do this Facebook thing. It's been a crazy week for me. I got a new granddaughter and babysitting the older granddaughter while the younger granddaughter got cooked. It took a lot of time, and I didn't get nearly half done this week than I wanted to. So I apologize for that. I apologize to Sid on air here for not doing it. But I spent all this time looking on Facebook how to do it, and it didn't work. I mean, it just didn't work. I don't get it.
It's all right.
But I guess I don't know. I have no patience for it. Sid, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing well. How are you?
Good. I see you got your cameras there set up in the back.
I did a little setup this afternoon. Got all excited when you mentioned film. So I was just
Sid?
Yep.
Did you actually light them?
I did. I have a separate light, and it's blue a little bit. And it's just, like you gotta take care of your babies, right? You want to show them off a little bit.
All right. So there you go. In the age of coronavirus, we're gonna light the stuff up in the studio.
That's right.
I wanted to talk to Sid about film cameras. I met Sid after I sent him a note after he wrote a really touching article that I still remember about his Hasselblad, which I think is behind him there, which was his father's Hasselblad.
No, it was not.
No, it was.
No. So I'll do a brief thing of the whole
please.
story.
I remember there was a touching story.
Yeah, so I was working at a local camera shop. It was a mom and pop camera shop. They had been around for almost 80 years. It was 3 generations of people. And my wife and I had this long-standing joke. Every year her birthday would come up, and I'd be like, what do you want for your birthday? And she'd be like, well, I'd really like to have a Hasselblad. And, that's like asking for like a Rolls Royce for your birthday when basically I can afford, like a Honda kind of thing. So we would laugh and joke about it and be like, no, really, what do you want? So I'm helping out at this camera store a couple of days a week. This older guy comes in. He's got like one of those blue baseball caps that have like the military crests on it and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's talking to the owner, and the owner calls him over and he goes, Sid, this is John. Tell John your little run-on gag you have with your wife. So I was just like, oh, blah, blah, Hasselblad, this. And so he was like, well, that's really sweet. He's like, I actually work on Hasselblad cameras. He's like, I'm about to retire. He's like, let me go back to my shop and see if I have enough to cobble together a camera. He's like, and if I do, I'll bring it back in. And I'm like, oh, that'd be awesome. So he leaves, and a couple of days later, he comes in, and he's got a body in the back, and he's all upset because like the serial numbers on the back and the body don't match and everything. And I'm just like okay, if that makes a difference. So he's letting me paw over, and I'm like petting it like a cat, and I'm being very affectionate with it and everything. So then I'm like, okay, well, I got to ask how much you want for it, because I figure he's probably going to be like, oh, give me $1,200 or $2,400 or something like that. So he's like, well, he's like, you met your wife in art school and photography school. He's like, and you both are photographers and everything. And he's like, and that really touches me right here. He was just like, give me $200. He's like, and we'll be good. And so like, I run out the store, I run down the street, I go down to the cash machine, I run back, I give him the cash. He's still fumbling with things. And he's like, I have a couple of extra pieces back at the studio. He's like, if I have anything else, I'll bring it. And I'm like, okay, that's, oh my God, like, this is amazing. So I have this camera. So the guy leaves, and the owner of the camera store goes, do you know who that is? And I'm like, no. And he's like, go home and do a Google search and I just forgot his name. So I go home and I look up this guy's name. So he had a couple of patents on Hasselblads. He was one of the original factory technicians that they trained over in Sweden, and then he came back over here to work at the Hasselblad factory in the US. So he has a patent on, he created the way that you can do double exposures on the back of a Hasselblad so that you don't advance the frame, so you can shoot the same image on the same frame. And he was the guy that retrofitted the Hasselblads that went up to the moon with the big button on the back. And I'm like, what? Wait, like right here in our town is this guy. So he comes in a couple of days later, and he's like this little guy, and he's got a mustache, and he's like my grumpy father. And he comes in, and I'm like, I looked you up on the internet, and it said you were the guy that worked on all these cameras that went to the moon. And he like without missing a beat, he gets all like cranky and cantankerous. And he was just like, let me tell you something. He's like, that fucking Armstrong didn't know how to take pictures with his big stupid moon suit on. He's like, so I basically had to make a giant button that he could bang on so he could take pictures while he was in space. And I'm like, he's all irritated that like he had to spend all this extra time to like alternate, you know, something on the back of the camera so that a guy on the moon could take a picture. And I'm just like, what? And he's just like, he was just all like pissed off. He was just angry. Like that's what he had to do with his time when he was working on those cameras.
Oh,
So it was awesome. So not only did I get like one of the last cameras that this guy had worked on, but it came with this incredible story with it. So that's my baby right there.
Really?
Like,
really cool.
yes.
Really cool. How many lenses has your wife gotten from you?
It came with the 80, and then I bought a 250 to use for headshots. That's sitting over in the case over there.
Is it black?
The lens? No, the lens it's the old Synchro.
You got the old silver one?
The old silver one, yeah.
Oh,
The
I love
5.6.
those.
And
5.6, right?
It's got that giant like the focus thing on the ring on it is like it's like alligator teeth. It's like you could like tear off your skin on your fingers trying to focus that.
Yeah.
It's massive. Yep.
Oh,
So that's it. So I have this nice little kit, and I just brought it back. There's a guy in Massachusetts that another guy that was one of the factory trained technicians. I just dropped it off.
What I love about that lens is it looks like you could have gone to the damn moon.
It looks
with
like a rocket ship. Yeah,
looks like a rocket ship.
Yeah,
Like,
they had the right idea.
You could I don't know, file things with it. I mean, it's just
It's like 60 pounds, and it's amazing.
Lovely lens, though. Well, one of the things that brings me to film cameras, that's kind of what we're going to talk about, is, and maybe some ways, the alternate ways of seeing, is that with film cameras, whenever I'd get a photo shoot, whenever someone would talk to me about a picture, the first thing I would think of is format. I'd think, I'm going to shoot that on 4x5, or that's got to be an 8x10 shot, or that's got to be a 2 1/4 shot. And sometimes the client would make it pretty clear that they wanted it on 2 1/4, they wanted it on 4x5. Obviously, it was product, it'd be 4x5. If it was product with a very big time client, they'd want it on 8x10. 8x10's never been inexpensive, and Polaroids for 8x10 were about $18 a pop. And you go through 3 boxes of Polaroids on product shoot, it's fairly expensive, even in those heydays of advertising. But what attracted me to the different formats was the different ways of viewing. Everything right now is that sort of, put it up to your eye thing. So you got one eye open and one eye here. And if you close your left eye or your right eye, whichever one you use, if you close the other eye, you get that sort of isolated thing, but you can always open it up and see where you want to go. That's it. That's an interesting way of doing it. And when you're shooting with people, you are looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
When you shoot one of these, you look down into the picture. So all you're seeing now is my cowboy hat. So when you're shooting a subject person, they're not seeing your eyes and you're not seeing anything else around them. You're looking at the picture through the camera this way. I don't have, well, I do. I don't want to lie. I do. I have one mount that I can shoot my RZ or my RB67 up like this,
Prism.
but I rarely use it because I do like the form factor or the whatever of looking down away from my subject, whether my subject's a person or the Grand Canyon or a plant, I don't know. I look down and now I don't see the subject except for here. Only place I see it. The next logical thing, I'll just leave that there, is for me was the stack finder. Because now I'm looking down, but I've got my eye up to the camera. So now I'm really not seeing anything else. The image becomes isolated in my brain. And that's just, I think it changes the way I shoot. I don't know if it does for anyone else, but it sure does for me. And of course, the last is standing behind that guy with a black cloth over your head. And now you've eliminated not only seeing anything else, you've eliminated the breeze, you've eliminated sounds in some cases.
And it's backwards, and it's upside down.
Exactly. And I had Brett Weston tell me at a workshop. That was Edward Weston's son, Brett. At a workshop, he said, here's the beautiful thing about these cameras. If your composition works upside down and backwards, it's going to be fine. So you make that composition work on that camera. I spent so much time behind an 8x10 camera that I just didn't have any problems. The first time you go behind, oh Lord, like, what? You know, you move the camera this way and the picture goes that way, and up and the picture goes down, and like, but I spent so much time that it just became another way of seeing. I could literally see it right side up and in the right direction in my head. And I miss that. And I think that there are ways of changing up the cameras that we have to give you a full experience for sure, but still an experience. I had to have a black cloth that it's like an oversized neckerchief that I take with me. I'll drape it over my head, put my camera up so that I isolate the view to the camera. I don't do it with people photography because they probably think I was some sort of serial murderer or something. Take your picture now. I'm going to wear this mask. But when I'm out looking for things, I will isolate and try to find it. What do you think, Sid? Am I crazy?
Yeah. No, not at all. It's just a different, I mean, digital's made us, it's, you know, they basically pampered us now because it's so easy. We don't have to pull Polaroids anymore, which is amazing. I mean, how many times did you like set something up and you set all the lighting up and you rip a Polaroid and you're just like, oh shit, I got to move this light. Hold on a second. Let me reset everything. And then I got to pull another Polaroid. Now I got to wait a minute and a half for the Polaroid to develop.
Mhm.
So that's kind of nice at the,
My favorite was when the art director would take the Polaroid. You just did a Polaroid. You had the model or your assistant stand in. You're just doing a basic Polaroid. He looks at it and he goes, "Ooh, you're going to get some smiles, aren't you?"
right.
No, that's it, Betty. I'm shooting that picture right there. In fact, screw it. I'm going to just pin it on the wall and shoot it with chrome. Because, you know, and you just there were so many times when I came this close to homicide. This close right here. And how many boxes of Polaroid do you ever keep on hand?
I still have, hold on, let me grab one. I still,
He still has Polaroid?
so like, usually when I do portrait sessions, if we've got enough time, like I still have a 4x5 Polaroid that I'll throw on the my 4x5 camera. So usually during a session, like I'll just pull, this is terrible lighting, I'll pull a couple of these and then I'll give them to the person that's sitting there with me, because nowadays, like, they're just like, oh my god, and it's, you know, it's like, it's not an Instax, so they're just like, oh well, how
What film
so I'll
are
give
you
them a couple
shooting?
of these. I stock loaded the Fuji. I've got a fridge full of the F3000B, the black and white stuff, the high grain,
Yeah.
like ISO 3000, and then I got a couple of boxes of the color right before they stopped making them. So like, I got all in a panic when they were talking about the black and whites going away. So I think I've got about 45 boxes of the black and white in my fridge. So every once in a while, like, you know, like if they're being extra nice, or, you know, we're having a really good vibe on the shoot and stuff like that, I'll just set up the 4x5 and I'll rip a couple of these, and then I'll give them a couple to go home with, and they're just like, you know, like all of a sudden they're just like, oh my god, like like they get all excited.
That's the 6x7 size film there, or is that
This is the 4x5 stuff. Okay. This is the little whatever. And then I bought a 4x5 back for the 4x5 camera. And then every once in a while I'll just pull them. And then I've got something else that I shoot a lot of the black and white on every once in a while, but I'm trying to be stingy with that recently, because once it's gone, it's gone.
Do you ever do any of the salvage the negatives from those?
I've pulled them and I've scanned them, and they're kind of thin, but yeah, I try to save. When I first got them, I didn't realize you could do that. So like we took our honeymoon up in Acadia National Park, and I was pulling Polaroids and throwing all the negatives away. And then when I got back, I was just like, oh crap, I could have saved all that stuff and scanned that stuff in.
Ansel Adams said that the Polaroid from the 55 PN was one of the finest negatives he ever got to work with.
That's the positive negative one?
Positive negative, yeah.
Those are gorgeous when you peel them apart and you still got all the dirty stuff on us. Oh, I love it. I love it.
And you clear that negative, clear the negative fix the negative, put it in an enlarger, and you're just blown away.
Yeah.
By the lack of grain, for one thing.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't grain, it was dye.
Yep.
And it was just an amazing. I still have a whole box full of those negatives that have done pretty well over the years. They've stayed up, and
Yeah.
the whole Polaroid process of peeling that negative off and having the positive then be a piece of art. When Polaroid stopped doing that, over 2,300 photographers in the world lost their medium.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There were that many professional artists making a living off shooting Polaroids, and they lost their medium. They just that'd be like telling a painter there's no more canvases are available.
Yep.
You know, so it's really a tragedy. But Polaroid never met a success it couldn't screw up. I gotta tell you, they were good. They were certainly good. Well, they said we were going to open up here in Phoenix last week, and I called my dentist and said, "Can I get my teeth fixed now?" And he said, "Yeah, thinking about a week." And then they just closed it up again, so I got to go another 3 weeks.
Yeah, they just told us today we're shut down another month, although they're going to try to stagger certain businesses. They want to try to slowly open stuff up. But they didn't have any, I don't know where photography falls into their little definition. So I think we're going to be.
I don't even think we're on the radar, man.
No. So that's all right. It'll give everybody a chance to, set all your cameras up and light them and, treat them like the babies that they really are.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine how many Polaroids he pulled to set his cameras up there. I mean, it really looks
and then
good.
I've got this one. This is my wife. So this is, we met in college and she was more of a general fine art person, but we did an alternative processes class. And so this is her favorite camera. We got it off of B&H like 100 years ago. It's just a simple wooden pinhole camera.
Mm-hmm.
And she was okay with a lot of the alternative processes until we got to albumin printing. And then her whole world just opened up because she's a very down to earth kind of person. She loves landscapes. She loves anything that's been untouched by man. And all of a sudden she had basically just a wooden box where she could do longer exposure images of nature. And then albumin. So she was cracking eggs and she was mixing the egg whites and she was floating paper. Just the whole process made sense to her. Like every step of the way, she was just like, this makes sense. This makes sense. Like it's tied to the earth. So she'd spent a long time. Most of the work that's on her website is we did albumin prints. And she did all kinds of like kind of longish exposure stuff. So this is hers. This is always here. She hasn't been shooting lately, but this is always ready for her. We've got like boxes of exposed negatives that are sitting in the fridge that we went up to Montreal in 2004 that she hasn't had a chance to develop yet. They're just sitting in the dark. So someday, hopefully, we'll be able to get those developed and we can scan them in so she can see what she's got.
Very cool.
Can you share her website on the comments box,
Yes,
please?
I can. Thank
you.
Let me find how to get the comments here. Nope, that doesn't do it. Hold on.
I'm trying to find that website that makes the beautiful wooden cameras.
Is it Winsner?
No, they
Winsner.
they only make pinholes.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
They have 35 millimeter.
I am looking
2.25.
chat there.
Zero Image. Are you familiar with Zero Image?
No.
Oh my God. These are the Zero Image of these are the kind of cameras you want to just buy to have. Okay. You just want to buy it to stick it on the wall. I'll show you their cameras. They're not terribly expensive either. But look at those cameras.
Oh, look at that.
Oh my gosh. They got 4x5. They've got 6x7. Look at
that's all pinhole. Look at that cherry wood.
I know.
Cherry wood.
So you get down in here. Let's see if I can find the
wow
pricing here. They're surprisingly order price price list. They're surprisingly inexpensive. So
Oh wow.
let's see it. Back to Nature series doesn't say what the
That's not too bad for pricing though.
no $219 for these things.
That's
Uh,
what?
I
Oh.
wish it's a terrible website because you got to go find the camera that you're looking at
Right.
and then go and find the thing product 0. Let's go let's try a
4.5, is that it?
4.5. There we go.
Yeah.
Locks
Look at that.
together with your film and everything in it. And
Oh.
Back to Nature is the natural wood stuff. And I saw the price when I was over there. Oh, here it is, $136.
Not bad.
That's nice.
Don,
Look at
maybe you
that.
could fix their website for them and exchange for a couple of cameras.
Right?
Yeah, that would. I have a feeling that would be quite a job.
That is perte.
So you've got a 25 millimeter, a 50 millimeter, 75 millimeter, just by adding these little units here,
That's excellent.
and that just takes it up to a total of $233. So that's the price of a used Canon on eBay.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
Look at that thing. That is pretty.
It's just a lot of fun. I just imagine how much fun it is. But I have decided that when you were telling me about your wife, I just decided I've wanted one of these for 10 years. And as soon as we're done with this show, I'm
Are you going to do it? You're going to do it? Oh, look at that.
Yep. Buy a 6x7 whole film one.
That's good. You should come back every week, and then we'll just entice you to buy
Yes,
something
I'll
else
just-
every week.
I'll just tell my wife, release all the funds from the bank account. Sid's on
Right.
the phone.
You just got your stimulus, right? There's some
No,
money.
I have not gotten the stimulus.
Oh,
yet.
well, you will, and that's what it's
Oh,
going to
I'm
go
sure.
for. Every week you come back, and we'll pick out what you're going to buy for the next week.
Everybody will get their stimulus sometime in September when it'll really, make no fucking difference at all. So, Travis, how are you, buddy?
I'm pretty good. And you're sending me down a rabbit hole here with this because those are affordable enough to be birthday presents. That 4x5 is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look at the up here and find the 6x7s are pretty cool product.
I don't know, man. If it doesn't have dual card slots, then
Yeah, that's right. These are 6x9s. Look at the brass.
Pretty.
The brass winding mechanism, 6x9.
Mm.
Oh, it's a multi-format. What does that mean?
Is that the one where you can
I think you can-
add little bits to it?
No, here it is. 6x4.5, 6x6, 6x7, or 6x9.
wow.
So you've got to select your preference before the film is loaded. Well, that sucks. I'm not buying one. Anyway, I got to tell you, I like the Back to Nature thing, but I got to get the cherry. I got to get the cherry one.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much, man. So what's this going to set me back, Sid? $206.
Oh, I'm not
right.
twisting your arm. I am not twisting your arm at all. Look
Wait a
at that.
minute, this one's 172.
Oh.
S&A.
Oh, with shipping.
Oh, shipping and
handling.
handling.
Shipping and handling.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'll find out that they're not available because of the coronavirus. It's made
Right.
polishing brass. The only guy that polishes the brass is sick.
He's sick. He's in the hospital.
They can't send it out.
They'll come with little masks you can put on the front of them.
Yeah. Remember when they told us we didn't need masks?
Mm-hmm.
And then they told us we
Yeah.
all need masks. I just
Yeah,
saw an
now they're-
article, Wall
they're
Street
just
Journal
saying-
or somewhere that said masks don't do any good. It's like,
Yep.
well, thank you.
Yeah, our governor just said starting May 6th or something, everybody has to have a mask. You have to be wearing a mask. Got to wear them.
Yeah, they've been saying that in Nashville for a bit, and nobody fucking wears masks. I'm literally like I wear them when I run, just to make people feel better about running past, like me running past them, because it's not meant to protect me. It's meant to keep if I'm an unwitting carrier, I'm not blasting it all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But I swear to God, and probably it must be over 100 miles of running at this point. I've seen 5 people in the park system wearing them. It's
Mm.
ridiculous.
Well, Are they? Is it any kind of mask, Sid, or are they making you wear like a surgical mask?
I think it's
No,
any kind of
it's
any kind of
yeah,
mouth and nose covering, like a lot of the ones
Yeah.
that all the local places are making. Just something that covers so that you can dampen.
I just use a bandana today.
That's what I use, a bandana. I mean, I'm a cowboy. I love
Yeah.
bandanas. My wife and I have been buying bandanas since we got married. See, my wife's been married 98 years, so we got a shit ton of. We just got a lot of bandanas. We've got a box that's full of bandanas, and she pulled them out, and I'm like doing a happy dance. I get to wear my bandanas again. You get to go in the store in
Looking like a cowboy.
sunglasses and a
Yeah.
bandana and a hat, and they go, "Hey, how you doing?" 6 weeks ago, they called the cops. So anyway,
I'm actually kind of excited for it. I bought myself like a neoprene one,
Hmm.
lightweight and washable and all the rest of it. And I'm all here for the weird post-apocalyptic. Everybody wears masks, but it's like a fashion statement thing now.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
for it.
That's awesome.
It's gonna be a lot of changes.
Mm.
Anyway, so Travis, do you shoot film?
I do. I haven't for quite a while. I haven't actually. The whole time we've been kind of in shelter in place, I haven't actually shot more than a couple tiny things. I've been doing mostly research and retouching for the most part. But I've got an old, the first large format, sort of large format I ever bought is behind me. It was one of the 2x3s or 2.5x3s or something, but I didn't know anything about large format at the time. So I was just like, "Ooh, this is really beautiful." And it came in a big metal case. It had, I don't know, 6 or 10 back, like the backs for it, the actual film holders, a bunch of old, this is actually kind of rad, a bunch of old, like hyper expired film packs.
Oh,
Like,
Verachrome. There you go.
Yeah, this is July 1957.
Mhm.
So it's more of a relic and a showpiece, but I ended up getting, I've got a Hasselblad that I love to death, and a Bronica that I love to death, and I'm not nearly as terrified of dinging, or I've carried around a lot more because I know I can repair it for a lot cheaper.
That's how I am
then,
with my Hasselblad. It's like, I'll take the
Yeah.
blad. I'm going to take the blad.
Yeah.
I don't want to drop it or anything. Or my new Fuji. I'm paranoid with that thing. I don't even want to take it out of the box. It's so beautiful. But yeah, but I take my Mamiyas everywhere. Bang them up over here. Hey, we need to pound the steak in. Let me grab the Mamiya. It'll work. Yeah, that's
I
cool.
love my 4x5 speed graphic from the Korean War, or shortly after the Korean War. It's a army green with brass and silver. I love that thing. It's a pain in the ass, and it's old and cantankerous, but it's my favorite.
Well, I didn't have a Hasselblad. I didn't have a Polaroid back for my 35 millimeter, my Nikon, for a long, long time. So what I used was my speed graphic. Even though I'm shooting it on 35, I could test the lights and the whole. I couldn't test, I can't test composition and stuff, but I could sure make sure all the strobes were firing with it and that type of thing. And that was
That's what I actually do
fun.
now. The opposite of that, the opposite of that. I'll use my digital, like my Mark III, as a Polaroid for the
do the
large
same
format.
thing. I do the same thing. I use my whatever digital camera I have. I'll put on a corresponding lens, do the shot, kind of make sure that's what I want, and then shoot the film. So a roll of film will last me a weekend if I'm out somewhere. I'm only going to shoot like 10 shots. Just going to make sure they're the right 10 shots. We used to not worry about it. We just bracket before. You don't bracket these days. It's like, no.
I do digitally quite a bit, but yeah, I do digitally like a lot actually, because
I bracket everything digitally that's commercial, but I rarely bracket if it's people, because I can't, what would I do if all the shots came out were the darker ones, whatever. But I actually bracket, tell all my students to bracket by aperture. So if you're doing a tabletop or something, you got to have to get your strobe set so that you can pump them up. So you shoot it at F, let's say you're shooting a food shot at F4. You got some real shallow depth of field. Well, that's really great. But I've been an art director for 15 years and a photographer, and I can guarantee you that when you take that shallow depth of field, and the art director is going to go, wow, that's really nice. Do you have any with a little deeper depth of field? And if you shoot it all at 11, they're going to go, wow, that's really awesome. Did you shoot any at a shallow depth of field? So
I haven't come up against that, but that's a really good, yeah.
You want to say, sure do. Here you go. I got 4, 5, 6, 8, and 11. And all you have to do is just change the power of your strobes to make that happen. Yeah, making sure there's no mistakes is the key. We just had a video interview with a retoucher, and he was talking about some of the jobs he's done with clients doing more than 200 frames to be retouched in, and the incredible forethought of like a floating blueberry, because the blueberry is blasting out of a blender. You got to make sure you got those blueberries at every possible angle, because you can't keep cloning the same blueberry everywhere. That was, that attention to detail.
Do you guys follow, or are you familiar with, I think his name is Adam Voorhees, photographer?
Yes. Yeah, Adam's great.
He does some incredible like forethought on his shots. They're just like his work is really, really beautiful, but like the planning that goes into all of the shots and like the weird technical know-how, because he uses a lot of gadgetry, is just so beautiful.
Pen to paper.
Mm-hmm.
Pen to paper. Sometimes you just got to do it. So here, I'm going to share this with you real quick. So here's the shot. For Bed Bath & Beyond, here's the shot. And this is what he got to work with.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love the wire armatures. That's great. That's clever.
Took the wire so they could sit there and look at the blueberries at different sizes and different angles and capture them all with the same light, identical light.
That's when I was shooting those dissected cameras. I was doing some of that, but I would have like one piece of wire with a piece of scotch or just a piece of invisible tape behind it, and just keep moving it and taking new frames of the individual blueberry. Yeah, that's a lot more clever.
He also gave us some hints. There's not a liquid on the planet that will blow up like that other than paint. You can try anything you want. We all know about using cream instead of milk for cereal and all that stuff. He says, bottom line, paint. So they go down to Home Depot. He gets that chocolate brown paint, and he just photoshops in whatever color he needs.
Wow.
But definitely want to keep your gear covered in plastic if you're whipping around brown paint. Good God. So,
crazy.
He's in Cincinnati, by the way. Scott is in Cincinnati. And if any of you are working on a portfolio piece and need some serious retouching, he's good. He's more than happy. He said, give him a call, tell him what you're working on. He's more than happy to work with you on rates, etc. if you want to get something done. Steph, you were in on that show, right?
Yeah, it was really good.
Are you back from your adventure?
Yes.
Oh, good. We can't talk about it. The CIA will not allow us to discuss it. I just wanted to ask. So I see Scott Fine is here. Scott, do you shoot film, sir?
Not in a while, but a good portion of my career from the very beginning was all film. 8x10 in the very beginning, and then a lot of 4x5. Sometimes 2 1/4.
You missed the 8x10?
Up until when I started shooting medium format, yes. When I first started in digital, it didn't cut it. It really didn't. And then I took a look at medium format, had the finances to do it, and fell in love with the detail in the medium format. And I shoot for my pro work, my commercial work, for clients about 98% medium format. I'm doing a little bit of full frame, playing around with that with some not lesser clients that don't the work isn't blown up that much, but medium format. But yeah, I you're talking about the can everyone hear me? Because my green.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. The green box isn't around my face. When you look in a view camera and you see it upside down and backwards and everything, what that does to an image, it just turns it into a design. And it you're not looking at what it is, you're looking at the pure design level and getting into the composition more. And I loved it. I loved getting under the dark cloth. And then the other thing that blows your mind away about view camera is focusing. We would spend hours focusing.
Oh God.
Hours. And then I don't know, I was talking about this the other day. I don't know when it was. Was it the 80s or 90s when everything was out of focus? And especially in food photography.
Yeah.
And it just, I could say to myself when I saw stuff in, say, Bon Appetit or Food and Wine, and I see all this out of focus stuff, I'm going, God, we spent so much time focusing. It was unbelievable.
And think
Yeah.
of how it swung, Scott. We used to tilt that front down. And by the
Oh,
way,
yeah.
you want to talk
Tilt,
about a pain in
swing,
the ass.
everything.
Notice
Imagine.
my camera is a Deerdorf.
That was when I got out of college. That was the camera I worked on, the Deerdorf.
The tilt is on the base in the back,
Right.
not on
No.
axis. See, if it's on
Right.
axis, you don't change the focal plane. If it's on the base, change it 1 millimeter. The entire set goes out of focus, and you're back to figuring out how to fix it.
Right.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I love that the Deerdorfs. I
Yeah.
never owned one. It was my first year out of college. I assisted a photographer, and he had Deerdorf. So my first camera that when I went on my own, which was about a year and a half after I got out of college, was a wooden Birkin James. Remember
Oh
those?
my God, yeah. Yeah.
I bought a used one, and I couldn't find a 4x5 reducing back because, you talk about, we never shot anything unless you shot a Polaroid. And most of the clients even though I was shooting 8x10, they didn't want to pay for 8x10 color Polaroids. And so I needed to shoot at least a 4x5, even though it's 8x10, just to see the exposure,
Yep.
So I had someone from this camera shop. He built me a custom 4x5, got a Graflock 4x5 holder, and then when so I had also a camera, a 4x5. I had a 4x5 and an 8x10 in one camera.
Yeah.
What's amazing about film? Because I've been in this business over 40 years. Graduated college in '78. You bought a camera, say view camera, maybe a 2 1/4 for your business, couple lenses, and that camera lasted your whole career. You never had to change anything, nothing, and the only thing that as a photographer we watched, and Don can attest to it with me, is film emulsions.
Yep.
Like when something new came out, when Fuji hit all the photographers went crazy over Fujifilm. And then Ektachrome went to Ektachrome 200, and everyone went crazy. It was all about film emulsions then. Never had to worry about a camera, a bag. I mean, you bought one and used it forever.
Well, the F3, between the F3 and the F4 was 11 and a half years.
Right.
And
I
now,
didn't shoot, even though I shot a lot of 35 in college and high school. And personally, I never really used the 35 that much because I've been mainly a still life photographer my whole career, even now. So
you shoot a lot of
it was kind of weird. I've worked in some other studios the last 10 years, and they can't afford to get into medium, so we're shooting full frame. It's kind of weird shooting product photography with a 35 looking type camera, but you got to realize in the digital world, it's not the size of the sensor, because the
The size
35
of the sensor just makes the detail go crazy balls,
Right.
but
I mean, if you
the
have-
frame, yeah.
Right. You open up a digital file in Photoshop and you look actually, like a medium format, the file is, I think, 20 something inches wide by like 16 inches high. So that's basically the film right there.
Yeah.
That's the size of the film almost. And but remember the days, Don, of processing bills?
yeah, I still do. Black and
Yeah.
white. I don't do color. I do my black and white, but
Oh, I mean, I would, you think now you spend thousands of dollars on camera equipment, and you go, wow, I don't have to pay for processing. But back then, you spent one time, like I said, on cameras, but we spent like $50,000 a year in film processing.
yeah, my biggest year was when I had 4 catalog jobs, 4 catalog clients, and we were shooting catalog. We shot 6 and 7 days a week for about 18 months for these people. I mean, I was at the studio every day shooting, and film was just pouring. That year, I had the bill, my lab bill for film and processing was $152,000.
Wow, that's a lot.
I'll always remember that. Always.
Like
We shoot a lot of
8x10 or
8x10,
roughly
a
4x5?
lot of 4x5. And just leaving, we'd go in and we just leave with giant bricks of film. And we'd have to go back to the studio and do an emulsion test. So if we like that
Right.
emulsion, we'd go buy 15 more bricks of film, bring them back.
Remember with the sheet film, you would you don't just buy enough for that month or that day. You'd buy into, you get a box and the emulsion was really great. You didn't have to color correct it that much. And you went and bought a ton of it
Oh yeah.
and kept it for a while. Because
Yeah, we had a better freezer at the studio and had at home. But much bigger, and absolutely. Those were crazy heady days. I am so glad that I got to experience them. Not that I think they're better than today or anything like that, but if you didn't experience those days, you wouldn't really know what I'm talking about. We didn't spend any time sitting on our ass. I was a thin guy. We were always moving. You're moving in the studio. You're either setting up, you're tearing down, whatever. The only time you ever sat on your ass was when you took the film to the lab. Take the film to the lab, go back to the studio, go back and pick up your test snip, check it out, give the instructions, go back to the studio, drive back to the lab, pick up your film. But the rest of the time you're on your feet, making phone calls, you're sitting down, whatever. Now we shoot for a small amount of time and we sit on our ass in front of a computer for hours, hours on end.
right.
So,
Exactly.
and consider wedding photographers. Not that I would ever do a wedding, ever.
I don't, that's not my gig.
No, but think of the wedding photographers. They would go out, shoot the wedding, get the proofs. They were done.
Yeah.
Done. That's it. Here's your proofs. You can order prints from the lab. Now they go out and shoot a wedding and sit on their ass for a week, adding filters and doing all the stuff to the wedding, and their prices haven't changed. So they would do a wedding for $1,500 or $2,000 on film, So if they do a $2,000 wedding on film, they got about $350 for film and processing. They made about $1,700, right? Now they go out and they do it the same price. They're doing it on digital, but they're spending all week in front of a computer. They're working for $12 an hour at some
Yep.
point.
Right. So you feel that a lot of photographers in the digital world aren't getting paid for that time in front of the computer?
No, they're not.
Mhm.
They're not.
I have one client that I'm able to charge for that. I do food photography for Kraft Foods, and I shoot 2 days a week for them, 2 full days, and I process all the images for the 2 days in 1 day, and I'm able to charge that day to them too.
That's good. That's good. Well, the reason that clients don't pay us for those days is when digital came out. I can't tell you how many photographers here in this town started telling their clients, "Oh, look, you don't have to pay for film and processing anymore.
Hmm.
Look how
Right.
cheap we are. Yeah, we're going to do it on digital. Not you don't have to pay for film and processing." And that was not just in Phoenix. That was all over the country. And boom, clients stopped wanting to pay for film and processing. You know, I charged a storage fee. Always had a storage fee, and I had a capture fee because I figured I'm using my camera. You know, cameras only last for X amount of exposures, so I'd roll that in there too. But there were a lot of pushback and a lot of negotiations. Sometimes, you know, it seems like a noble cause, but if you're not going to lose the job, then the noble cause can be negotiated. But I never gave it away. I never said, okay, I'm not going to do it. I would just negotiate it down.
Yeah.
So
I on my film and processing, I always had a profit built in there.
yeah, I did
4x5 was like $5 a sheet.
Yeah.
And that included the film and the processing, which really only cost me back then maybe $2 and change. So I was making a markup on all my, and Polaroids too. Everything had a markup.
Yeah, we marked up everything. My average markup was 18 to 25% because that's what ad agencies, you know, I eventually ended up owning an ad agency for almost 10 years. And that's where, you know, well, that's where ad agencies make their money. Sometimes photographers go into ad agencies thinking, I need to be the lowest bid to get this job. Well, if you're the lowest bid, the ad agency doesn't get to mark. Your 18% is a drop in the bucket for that other guy. And believe me, they take that into account. If you're the cheapest guy, they're not going to make any money off you because they make their money off the markup. 18% of ad placement is where ad agencies make their money. It costs a ton of money to put a commercial on TV, and they get 18% of that, plus 18% of the production cost, plus 18% of the talent, plus 18%, you know. In our agency, if somebody come in and wanted, you know, something done for an ad, we basically gave them the art.
Production, right?
The art was like, that's great.
You made your money on the placement on TV.
18%, and for one of our clients, Law Commerce, we placed 8 full-page ads in the Wall Street Journal, which came to $2.2 million. We got 18% of that.
Right.
So
those were the days.
those were the days. Now these days I would advise. I wouldn't advise any client I even hated to put an ad in the Wall Street Journal, but back in those days, it worked. And the poor client that we had, let's just say their CEO and their CFO were two young guys, and they discovered cocaine. And that was the end of that
I've
company.
heard of that happen a lot.
Yeah, boy, it happened a lot in the late 90s and the early 2000s. The late 90s were just amazing. I wanted to ask James Eisel what's going on in Florida. James, you out there on the beaches now? And
No beaches yet. We got the parks open. And I guess the rest of the state is going to open on Monday, but not West Palm, Lauderdale, and Miami. So we're going to drag their feet on that a little bit. Yes, probably 10 times the population in those 3 counties as the whole rest of the state.
yeah.
But things are things are moving along. I've got a 4-day gig next week and gotten favorable response on that other bid we talked about last week, and things are starting to open up a little bit.
Well, there's going to be a pent up demand.
Yeah.
There really is going to be a pent up demand. Marketing can't come to a complete stop. Just can't. So,
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are just now starting to think about how are we gonna, reach our clients once we do open up. So that's the phone's starting to ring a little bit, and that's good.
that's good. Very good. How about Gary Beller? What's happening with you, Gary?
We're feverishly working on getting our trainings converted to online streams and recorded video. We're going to start taping a bunch of content next week. So been scrambling, trying to learn all the software and hardware and everything that's involved with all of that. So I've been pretty busy.
Yeah. Plus, you're right there on the beach.
Yeah.
That's really nice. It's very nice. Very nice.
There's a fisherman back there
Is
somewhere.
there a guy fishing? Oh, look at that.
Oh, there he is.
That poor son of a bitch has been there for an hour now. Hasn't caught a thing.
Has got a damn thing.
I'll tell you, that just sucks.
I think
Stephanie, how are you? You went out into the wilderness, right?
Yeah, we went up Terava'ipa Canyon and stuff. Which
Is that in Tucson? There's Vipa in Tucson, or?
north of Wilcox, Stafford?
Okay.
Out that. Yeah. I was just thinking, when you're talking about the point of view of those different cameras, like looking down and whatnot, like the new mirrorless is a whole new
Yes, it
kind
is.
of point of view, because when I'm out there, like I usually hold it out at arm's length. And so I'm able to like look the people right in the eye, have a direct conversation with it just barely down so I can glimpse at it. But it's instead of having one eye, it's like I have the whole 360.
It's a whole different thing to hold it up here and do this.
Yeah. And I do. It's always out. Like that way I can talk to the people and have that direct.
Well, and if it's tracking their faces and keeping them in focus for you, you have more contact with your subject.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just make sure I glance and make sure the box is kind of right. And
Imagine when we're able to take the camera, put it on something like a tripod where we wear, so we can mount the camera here and actually control it from an iPad.
yeah.
Now that's going to be a whole different kind of thing, and that's coming. That whole, shooting from your phone or your iPad, your camera stationary or whatever. But these cameras, I love my little camera. These cameras, the other thing they don't do is intimidate people. So
Yeah.
during
They can
the uprisings in the Middle East, a lot of photojournalists started carrying around little cameras and iPhones, because if you were carrying a lot of cameras, they'd beat you up. They'd jump you and take your cameras and stuff. But everybody's leaving everybody alone with the little cameras. So, and if you go to Machu Picchu in Peru, if you have a DSLR, they're going to charge you $300 more because it's a professional camera. But if you got one of these,
Really?
you can walk right in. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, they don't tell you about the $300 until you get there.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah. So, these are the way to go. They're probably getting wise to these as well. We got kicked off of the stairs out in front of the New York Symphony Hall because we had DSLRs, and the guy was saying you can't take pictures here, and all around him are people taking pictures with their iPhones, and this rent-a-cop was he was like he's all big and bad. He actually put his hand down on his weapon, at which point I said, you're going to shoot me? That's your plan? So we left, and then we stood across the street and took his picture for about 5 minutes because I was just going to be an asshole. So that's what I do. I got a couple of questions for you. Questions. This has to do with our current situation. New York, hot or not?
It's perpetually hot, like in all the ways.
Do you think New York is going to be the destination that it was for the last 50 years?
Yeah, not immediately, but 100%. Yeah, like there's too much cachet there.
There's a lot
There's
of
too
people,
much.
a lot of people moving out. They're just saying we're done. 9/11, SARS, this thing comes along, we're moving out. But I think there'll be enough people who want that New York experience to move back in. Oh,
And just young, thirsty people that are. It's in New York and LA. It's just the New York more broadly. It's just where you go if you want to cut your teeth.
unless it's where unless the people where you cut your teeth leave. Then it's,
Yeah, but like when I went, it was very shortly after 9/11, and it was, and there was always on my mind when I lived there was like, if anything happens in America, it's like this is basically Nexus #1, and but still, it's just so incredibly vibrant, and so you get the retouching crew that I was with was just these, it was maybe 8 of us in the one place that I was at the longest, and we were just young and hungry and worked crazy hours, but you have, as soon as you're done working crazy hours, you have like every opportunity you want, just in such a different way than you have it in like anywhere else in America. And yeah, it'll be a while for sure. It'll definitely take a lull, and it hopefully will get slightly cheaper to live in because of it. But
yeah, well, I think well, real estate's going to take a big hit. A big
I think
hit.
so, but every real estate agent I know right now keeps saying it has not even started to go. I know, I can't imagine it won't.
It'll just depend on how much longer they're down, because I was talking to actually, no, I was privy to a podcast, and they were talking about this guy's little office. He said the people across the street from him in that little building, they're gone. They're taking their stimulus check and leaving. The shoe store, they're gone. The Thai restaurant, they're gone. So like on one block, like 15 stores, they're not coming back. They just said, we were making it day to day as it was. This is too bad. Because when it does come back, it's not going to come back 100%. We're not going to go from like, well, there's nobody in the streets, back to, clogged streets and people going to the movies, and, Broadway's in big trouble. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I had posted a couple pictures earlier today on Facebook. I was going through the stuff from my last fashion week, and just, like rush hour on the sidewalks with people shoulder to shoulder and all that. And it's so surreal to look at it now. It's only been a couple of months, but it's really.
I think we got a long time before we do that again.
But my brother lives in the East Village. He's not in our industry. And most of the people he knows don't really have any intention of going anywhere else. We're going to ride it out like we rode everything else out. And I've talked to a bunch of stylists and makeup artists, people I know up there. And they're like, it's, it is what it is. We'll get through it and we'll keep going.
New Yorkers are like, there's a point of pride in being a New Yorker that it is the only place I've ever lived. When I first moved there, the first roommate I had described that she had like a physical love for the city, and I didn't understand it at first. But then when I had lived there for quite a while, you have like an actual love for that place. As much as you hate it, and I was happy to get away when I did, so that I could like breathe a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just you identify as a New Yorker a lot of times, even before or concurrent with identifying as an American. Like there's a grit there that they're like, this is what happens when you live in this place, but it's part of the price you pay.
I used to go back for 2 weeks at a time. I had an apartment that I shared with another photographer. And for about 2 years, every month, I'd spend 2 weeks in New York, 2 weeks in Phoenix. And I definitely know what you mean. I mean, I definitely know what you mean. I'd get back here and I just start craving it. And yet when you're there, it's, you know, being jostled and trying to get a seat on the subway and stuff like that. You kind of, God, what am I doing here? But it, you know, just the fascination of having all that around you, the stimulation, let's put it this way, the stimulation factor, there's no other place like it. No, not I can even think of. There's no, not San Francisco, definitely not LA, you know.
The only thing I've ever seen that came close was Milan, because Milan is like Italy's version of New York City. It's
Yeah.
the best of the best. Everybody is just insane work ethic, and you know, there's so much to do. There's so much culture and everything all around you all the time.
Stephanie, you said you want to say something? Steph? Hello, Steph?
I'm here. I'm
Oh, there you
here. Sorry. I'm smoking a pork shoulder, so I'm running in and out.
You're,
We're all coming over for dinner now. Can't say things like that.
Stephanie, I smoke these, but how do you smoke a pork shoulder? Bam!
How do you keep it lit?
How do you keep it lit? It's like, that's gotta be an ugly sight anyway. What'd you want to say?
Oh, no, I was just what I said earlier, just the point of view. And I guess I have one other thing is yesterday, Doug Menuez had a live stream with a guy it's called Corey Rich Productions.
Yeah.
So it was on his, if you go to Corey Rich Productions, it's on his like IGTV, the recording. And he was just talking about Doug Menuez was talking about Steve Jobs and how he made those connections, how he was able to photograph him for 3 years, how after he got everything done, Steve Jobs wouldn't let it run in Life magazine because he didn't like Life anymore, Life magazine. And it was just a great, so if you got an hour to waste, it was a great interview.
Did they talk about Corey, how Corey got started as a photographer?
Not so much. It was just mostly about Doug Menuez and how he got started.
His first website was coreyfishes.com. He's a brilliant photographer. He got a job on those fishing boats, you know, like, and the shots he would get on these fishing boats just absolutely blow you away. The kind of fishing boats that, you know, you take your life in your hands when you go out into the middle of the Atlantic, you know, and giant waves crashing over. Yeah, it was Corey Fishes. Yeah, Corey's a really great photographer.
Name. That is such a gangster name.
Yeah, it's really cool.
How you doing? I'm Corey Fishes.
Yeah, well, interesting. Thanks, Steph. The Surgeon General has said that too much smoking of the pork cause cravings.
Well, smoking in a Traeger is okay, so we'll put that one on the good list.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
Anybody have anything new to
New?
share?
Yeah,
Anybody
something new?
shoot anything? Anybody?
Yeah, I played with some stuff this week. Got featured on the local stone crab people. We taken a run up to Martin County and gotten a bunch of fresh stone crab. And it looked so good, it was like, I might as well shoot something. And I just did it for the fun of doing it, sent it to them, and now it's on their Facebook page. And they're tickled to death. I just said, hey, next season, remember me.
There you
Right,
go.
right, yeah. Send them a little reminder in the mail. Be like, hey, it's me.
Well, and that works. One of the photographers I'm working with, I do one-on-ones with photographers, a mentorship program. Photographers I'm working with, we're just trying to get him going. So he discovered this company that was just 2.5 miles from him. He went out to the store, bought a couple of their products, shot some really nice splash shots, you know, coming up, splashing and everything. Sent them out to him, and he's got 2 days worth of work at good rate. They're going to ship it over to his house. He's going to shoot it in his basement. So, I mean, it actually works. And another one of our photographers did a shot of a company's product. stuck it up on Instagram and tagged them. And within 5 days later, they're sending an RFP out.
Wow.
You know, I listening to James Altucher's podcast this morning on my walk, and listening to a guy, Jordan Harbinger. Do you guys know the name Jordan Harbinger? He is a he's got a podcast and some other interesting things that he does, but he is a networker supreme. Networker supreme. He said every person you know is another 60 people you know. You just have to get to them through the person you know. And he's always building webs of stuff. And says the best way you can stay in people's mind is to stay in their mind. So he has a program that runs on his Gmail that pops up and says, Don, you haven't sent an email to James Eisel in 90 days. Don, it's been 45 days since you talked to Sid Caesar. So I can say, okay, I'm going to set James at 90 days, Sid at 45. Travis is a big client. I'm going to set him at 30 days. And every day, boom, it's 30 days since you talked to Travis. I'm going to say, hey, Travis, what's going on? Boom. How's fishing up there? Boom, send a note out. He does this. He's built a multi-million-dollar business, multiple businesses, by just doing this. Constantly contacting people. So, he says, go into your email and go back 5 years and find people that you talked to 5 years ago. If you haven't talked to them since, send them a note. Hey, how you doing? Whatever. Just don't ever sell them. No sales. No sales.
Yep.
And the other way he gets all his business is by referring. So, hey, James, I met a guy, Travis, who's a great retoucher. You need to meet Travis. By the way, you don't have to get back to me on this. So now Travis goes, wow, how'd you hear me, James? Oh, Don sent me. So now Travis remembers Don. James remembers Don. James and Travis have a good working relationship. And then someone says, how did you and James meet? Oh, Don sent us. I got somebody else now. But you never go, hey, dude, I'd like to get, have Travis give me a job kind of thing.
Right.
I'm really interested in that email or the Gmail app or extension he's got, and I'm like trying to dig around to see if it's an available extension, but I can't find anything.
He says it's for the real estate industry. If you go to jamesaltucher.com, he should have links to the software that Jordan mentioned in the interview. And if not, it's 3/4 of the way through the interview. When Travis, you'd enjoy the interview anyway. You guys would really, really right up our alley.
Find it. Try looking around at If This Then That.
I use that one, but not nearly as fully as I should.
What's different things to connect and automate stuff.
There's another project management thing that you can do in Gmail called Streak. And if you have it installed, you can filter, automatically put emails into these projects. And then you can look at the status and it'll tell you, oh, you haven't done anything with this for 30 days or 20 days. Yeah. It doesn't notify you, but it's in a spreadsheet so you can see it.
That sounds really useful.
Yeah, that's called Streak.
There's also a website called Future Me that lets you set up emails that get sent to you in the future, back to you. Mm-hmm. As kind of a reminder of things that you want to remember or, check your goals or any of that kind of stuff. It's kind of an interesting concept.
I've heard of that one, but not used it.
I'll have to find latest episodes. I'm at his website. Latest episodes, 527. No, I don't think so. I do not think so, James. So he's not keeping his website up. Let me just say something about websites. If you're not keeping your website up, close it down. It hurts you more to have a dead website or a dead blog than leaving it up because you just got tired of it. If you're done with it, take it down. Yep. Hire some kid in India to transcribe the whole blog to Word and save it if you want, but don't just leave it there. Well, that's really a shame. I will find Travis, I'll find it out and send you the link to it. He
I'd
mentioned
be
that it's
incredibly appreciative.
that one he uses is, he said it's expensive. It's $60 a month. It's for the real estate people.
Yoinks.
But he said another that he gave the name of another one that's free that does the same thing. So I want to say Cloud Trend or Cloud Trade or.
That's cool. I can dig around for it. It's just it's a clever idea that
Yeah.
I would. It just sounds nice to even legit just stay in touch with people you care about, but kind of fall
Absolutely.
off the wayside.
It just, I mean, not even from a marketing standpoint.
Hmm.
It's like we forget, we get so busy and wrapped up in our current email that there are people, and I was sitting there this morning or walking actually, just thinking, oh my God, I can think of the names of people that I haven't heard from or haven't contacted. Well, I don't want to sit around waiting to hear from them. Maybe they're busy too. I want to be really proactive. So I'm going to dig back in my Gmail at least 5-6 years and see what I can find. Altashare says what he likes to do is go back like 6, 7, 8 years in his email, and he'll find someone who said, hey, James, I'd love to have a cup of coffee with you. But James never responded. So he'll respond, yeah, how about Thursday? So fun stuff like that. And now the last question, and before we go, this has been burning question for me since we came on, and that is, how'd you get a goddamn haircut, Travis?
I shaved
Hated
the
himself.
sides. I just took the razor and dragged it down.
Really?
Yeah. And then I had my wife help me with the back because it's obviously a little hard to see, but I've been wanting a mohawk for a long time, and this is the perfect opportunity.
Well, I had a mohawk up until look at this.
I'm encouraging everybody to just shave the sides off.
That's
Do it.
Very easy.
It will be shaved by the evening. Thank you, sir.
If I shave my sides off, I don't have anything on the top.
Everybody, thanks so much for coming out. We do this every Friday at 1 o'clock Pacific. So we'll see you next time.
Yes.
Care.
Everybody be
Good
safe.
night.
Bye.
Be safe.